Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me today, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Because what I am about to share with you can transform your entire life. Have you ever made a decision in anger and later regretted it? Have you ever allowed emotions to dictate your words only to wish you could take them back? If you don't train your mind, your emotions will train you. And let me tell you something, an untrained mind is dangerous. The difference between success and failure, peace and chaos, wisdom and regret is this. Do you react or do you respond? Animals react. People of wisdom respond. A lion sees danger and instantly reacts. But you have something more powerful than instinct. You have the ability to pause, think, and choose. And yet most people live like wild animals, reacting to every situation, every comment, every hardship without thinking. And that is why their lives are out of control. But today, I want to give you the key that will set you free, the key that will separate you from the crowd, the key that will elevate you to a life of dominion and peace. And that key is mental discipline, the ability to train your mind to respond, not react. There are people who lose jobs, relationships, and opportunities simply because they don't understand this principle. They let anger speak, frustration drive their actions, and fear make their choices. But what if I told you that the most powerful people on this planet, leaders, visionaries, and world changers, are not controlled by emotion? Instead, they control their emotions. Today, I am going to show you exactly how to do this. I am going to teach you how to rule over your mind, so you will never be a victim of circumstances again. But before we go any further, I need you to do one thing. Make a decision to take control of your mind, your emotions, and your future. Because what I'm about to share will change your life forever. Are you ready? Let's begin. The power of the mind is the greatest force given to humanity. It is the control center of life, the foundation of success, and the battlefield where destiny is decided. Everything a person becomes is a product of how their mind has been trained. If the mind is weak, the person is weak. If the mind is strong, the person is strong. Life is not lived from the outside in, it is lived from the inside out. This means that whatever controls the mind controls the man. If the mind is not trained, life will train it by force. Situations, problems, people, and challenges will become the instructors of an untrained mind, pushing it in any direction they choose. But a trained mind does not move with the wind. It creates its own course. A trained mind does not crumble under pressure. It rises above it. A trained mind is not enslaved by emotions. It rules over them. Every person who has ever achieved greatness mastered this one principle. Control your mind or the world will control it for you. The problem most people face is that they allow external conditions to shape their internal reality. They allow what they see to determine what they believe. They allow what happens around them to dictate what happens within them. This is the reason why so many people live in frustration, anxiety, and regret. They react to life instead of responding to it. Reaction is an untrained impulse. Response is a disciplined decision. The difference between an ordinary man and a great man is not intelligence, background, or talent. It is the ability to train the mind to function with control rather than chaos. A person who does not master their mind will be a victim of their emotions. They will speak before thinking, act before reasoning, and regret before learning. Every failure in life can be traced back to an undisciplined mind. Anger, fear, jealousy, impatience, and insecurity all come from a mind that has not been trained to govern itself. The reason many people fail in relationships, business, leadership, and personal growth is that they have never been taught to rule their own thoughts. But the truth is simple. If you cannot control your mind, you cannot control your life. The mind is like a wild horse. If left untrained, it will run in any direction, destroying everything in its path. But if it is disciplined, it will take you exactly where you need to go. No person has ever lived in peace without mastering the mind. No one has ever reached their full potential without training their thoughts. Every battle in life is first won or lost in the mind. Before a person gives up on a dream, they have already surrendered in their thoughts. Before a person falls into fear, they have already allowed it to take root in their mind. Before a person destroys a relationship with their words, they have already let their emotions dictate their actions. Everything begins in the mind. If the mind is conditioned to panic, life will be filled with panic. If the mind is trained to remain calm, even in the storm, life will remain stable. Success is not about what happens outside a person, it is about how their mind responds to what happens. The difference between a crisis and an opportunity is the mind's perspective. The same storm that drowns one man lifts another to new heights. The same problem that breaks one person builds another into greatness. The same words that offend one person inspire another to grow. The power is not in the situation. The power is in the mind. The world is filled with people who react to everything, and because of this, they never rise above their circumstances. But the rare few who train their minds to respond, to pause, to think, to choose, they are the ones who rule in life. The difference between reacting and responding is the difference between regret and wisdom, chaos and control, failure and success. Reaction is instant, emotional, and unfiltered. It is the knee-jerk impulse that speaks before thinking, acts before reasoning, and decides before understanding. It is the untrained response of the flesh, guided by emotions rather than wisdom. But response is intentional. Response is disciplined. Response is the ability to pause, process, and choose the best course of action, rather than being a slave to the moment. The people who master this distinction are the ones who rule in life, while those who do not remain at the mercy of circumstances, impulses, and emotions that they cannot control. The greatest tragedies in life often come from a single moment of reaction, a word spoken in anger that destroys a relationship, a decision made in frustration that ruins a career, an action taken in fear that closes a door forever. One reaction can cause years of regret. This is why emotional maturity is not measured by age, experience, or knowledge. It is measured by the ability to control oneself in critical moments. It is easy to react. It takes no effort. It is what the untrained mind does naturally. But to respond requires mastery. It requires self-discipline. It requires a level of awareness that is greater than the situation at hand. It is the ability to step back when emotions demand action, to remain still when the flesh urges movement, to think when feelings scream for an answer. And this is the secret of those who walk in wisdom. They have learned that power is not in reacting, but in responding. A person who reacts gives control of their life to external forces. If someone insults them, they react with anger. If a situation causes fear, they react with panic. If a challenge arises, they react with doubt. In every case, they are not in control. Their emotions, their environment, and other people are in control of them. They move based on the push of the moment, not based on the power of their own mind. But a person who responds takes back control. If someone insults them, they pause and decide whether it is worth their energy. If a situation causes fear, they assess it logically before acting. If a challenge arises, they step back and see the opportunity within it. The difference is not in what happens to them, but in how they choose to deal with it. One is a slave to circumstance. The other is a master of self. Reaction is dangerous because it blinds a person to the consequences of their own actions. It is the reason people say, "I didn't mean to," after they have already done damage. But response sees beyond the moment. Response considers the future. It understands that what is done in 1 second can change an entire lifetime. That is why those who lead, those who rise, those who build lasting success are never people who react without thinking. They are the ones who know how to wait, how to breathe, how to pause, and how to decide. They understand that in the heat of the moment, it is not their emotions that should be in control, but their wisdom. They have learned that strength is not in the loudness of reaction, but in the silence of thought before response. The world is full of people who destroy their own potential simply because they lack this one discipline. They speak when they should listen. They act when they should wait. They allow emotions to control them instead of using emotions as tools for guidance. And because of this, they live in cycles of regret, broken relationships, lost opportunities, and unnecessary suffering. But the few who have mastered the art of responding instead of reacting have discovered the secret to peace, power, and progress. They do not live in regret because they think before they act. They do not lose control because they have trained themselves to pause before making decisions. They do not allow external chaos to dictate their internal state because they have mastered the ability to remain still, to remain calm, to remain in control. The difference between reacting and responding is the difference between a life that is constantly being pulled by circumstances and a life that is directed with intention. It is the difference between losing control and walking in wisdom. It is the difference between failure and success. The person who learns to respond, not react, has discovered the key to mastering their own destiny. Most people fail in life, not because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity, but because they have never learned to master their own minds. The untrained mind is a slave to circumstances, easily influenced by emotions, external pressures, and the opinions of others. When a person reacts without thinking, they hand over control of their life to the environment around them. But when a person learns to respond with wisdom, they take charge of their future. Failure is not always the result of bad luck, poor timing, or even external opposition. More often, it is the product of an undisciplined mind, one that is controlled by fear, doubt, anger, impatience, and other unchecked emotions that lead to destructive choices. Many people have lost opportunities, ruined relationships, and sabotaged their own success simply because they never took the time to train their thoughts. A person with an undisciplined mind reacts to every situation, making decisions in moments of anger or fear that later bring regret. A person who cannot control their emotions will struggle to control their destiny. They will make impulsive choices, burn bridges, quit too soon, or settle for less than their full potential. This is why most people fail, not because they are incapable of success, but because they allow the temporary emotions of the moment to dictate the long-term direction of their lives. Every failure can be traced back to a decision made in an untrained state of mind. A businessman who reacts in anger and loses an important deal. A leader who speaks without thinking and destroys their credibility. A person who gives in to fear and never takes the opportunity that could change their life. These are not accidents. These are the predictable results of minds that have not been disciplined to respond instead of react. Successful people understand that control over one's emotions is control over one's future. They do not allow frustration to make their decisions for them. They do not let temporary disappointment cause permanent setbacks. They understand that every great opportunity comes with challenges, and those challenges must be faced with wisdom, not reaction. The untrained mind is easily defeated because it is easily shaken. A small criticism can discourage it. A single failure can break its confidence. A moment of hardship can convince it to give up. But a trained mind is different. A trained mind is stable, disciplined, and focused. It does not react in panic when faced with problems. It does not retreat in fear when things do not go as planned. Instead, it takes control of the situation by taking control of itself first. People who fail repeatedly in life are often those who never learn to pause, think, and make decisions from a place of wisdom. They allow the pressure of the moment to dictate their actions, and as a result, they live in a cycle of frustration, regret, and missed opportunities. Training the mind is the secret to breaking free from failure. It is the key to overcoming setbacks and rising above obstacles. A person who has trained their mind does not allow emotions to control them. They take time to analyze situations, to reflect before responding, and to act with purpose rather than impulse. They understand that while emotions are real, they should not be the masters of their decisions. Every successful person, every great leader, every individual who has achieved something meaningful in life has learned this principle. They have learned that reacting in anger, fear, or frustration will only lead to regret. But responding with patience, wisdom, and clarity will lead to victory. Most people fail in life because they allow their emotions to dictate their choices instead of using their mind to govern their emotions. They react to pain instead of learning from it. They react to failure instead of growing through it. They react to criticism instead of using it to improve. But those who take the time to train their minds break free from this cycle. They do not allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. They rise above their circumstances by ruling over themselves first. The difference between success and failure is not luck, talent, or even hard work. It is the ability to control one's mind and respond with wisdom instead of reacting in emotion. Emotions are powerful, but they were never meant to be in control of your life. They are indicators, not dictators. They provide information, but they should not make your decisions. The person who masters their emotions masters their destiny, while the person who is controlled by emotions will always be a slave to circumstances. Life is full of moments that test emotional control. Moments of anger, fear, frustration, disappointment, and even excitement. How you handle these moments determines the quality of your relationships, your success in business, your ability to lead, and your personal peace. Those who have learned to rule over their emotions make decisions with wisdom, while those who let emotions rule them live in cycles of regret and instability. Mastering emotions does not mean suppressing them. It does not mean ignoring how you feel or pretending that emotions do not exist. It means learning how to process them properly, to acknowledge them without allowing them to take control. Too many people allow temporary feelings to create permanent consequences. A person who lets anger control them will say things they cannot take back. A person who allows fear to control them will miss opportunities they will never get again. A person who gives in to impatience will make reckless decisions that cost them years of progress. But a person who understands how to manage emotions will always remain in control. They will not allow one bad day to define their future. They will not allow one painful experience to turn into a lifetime of bitterness. They will not allow fleeting emotions to push them into actions they will regret. Emotions are like waves. They come and go, and they can be unpredictable. A person who has no control over their emotions is like a small boat in the ocean, tossed in every direction by the waves. One day, they are full of motivation and ready to take on the world. The next day, they are discouraged and ready to quit. One moment, they are in love with someone, and the next, they want nothing to do with them. This instability is a result of living by emotions rather than by principles. A person who lives by principles instead of emotions remains steady no matter what happens. They do not allow circumstances to dictate their actions. They do what is right, whether they feel like it or not. They stay committed, even when emotions try to convince them otherwise. They choose patience over frustration, wisdom over impulse, and self-control over emotional reactions. One of the most dangerous things a person can do is make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. Many people have walked away from relationships, businesses, and opportunities because they let emotions lead them instead of wisdom. The emotions of today may not be the emotions of tomorrow, but decisions made in the moment can have lasting consequences. This is why it is so important to pause, reflect, and think before acting. Emotional maturity is not about never feeling anger, sadness, or fear. It is about knowing how to respond to those emotions in a way that leads to growth instead of destruction. It is about understanding that emotions are part of life, but they are not the leaders of life. They must be managed, guided, and used wisely. The strongest people in the world are not those who never feel emotions, but those who know how to master them. They know that anger must be controlled before it controls them. They know that fear must be confronted before it paralyzes them. They know that disappointment must be processed before it turns into bitterness. They understand that emotions are tools, and like any tool, they must be used correctly. Just as fire can either burn down a house or be used to cook a meal, emotions can either destroy a person's life or be used to create something powerful. The key is learning how to manage them, to use them with wisdom, and to never let them take the driver's seat in life. Those who master their emotions master their future. Those who do not will always find themselves trapped in cycles they cannot escape. Self-control is the foundation of a disciplined mind. Without it, even the most talented, intelligent, and gifted individuals will find themselves trapped in cycles of failure. A person who lacks self-control is like a city without walls, completely exposed, vulnerable to attacks from external forces, and easily overtaken by emotions, impulses, and circumstances. But a person who has mastered self-control is unshakable. They do not allow the storms of life to dictate their actions. They do not let anger drive their words, fear determine their decisions, or impatience push them into unwise choices. Instead, they operate with clarity, wisdom, and purpose, responding to life rather than reacting to it. Training the mind is not an overnight process. It requires intentional effort, daily discipline, and the ability to delay gratification. The greatest battles a person will ever face are not external but internal. The battle against temptation, the battle against impulsive decisions, the battle against speaking when silence is wiser, the battle against quitting when perseverance is needed. Self-control is the ability to stand in the middle of chaos and remain calm. It is the ability to be provoked and yet not retaliate. It is the ability to feel deeply and yet not allow emotions to override wisdom. Many people assume that strong individuals are those who overpower others, but true strength is found in the ability to control oneself. There is a reason why history is filled with stories of people who had everything: power, influence, wealth, talent, yet lost it all because they lacked the discipline to govern themselves. A single act of uncontrolled anger has ruined reputations. A single moment of indulgence has destroyed years of progress. A single impulsive decision has led to irreversible consequences. The person who cannot control their mind will always be a prisoner to their weaknesses, no matter how much success they attain. But the person who develops self-control will rise above every challenge, because they understand that true power is not in dominating others, but in mastering oneself. Discipline is the bridge between potential and reality. Many people have the ability to be great, but few have the discipline to achieve it. Potential alone is not enough. It must be managed, developed, and directed through intentional effort. A mind that lacks self-control will always find excuses, seek comfort over growth, and choose what is easy rather than what is necessary. This is why so many people live below their potential, not because they lack talent, but because they have never developed the discipline to train their mind to function beyond emotions. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not always intelligence or luck. It is the ability to govern oneself. A person who has trained their mind to operate with self-control is unstoppable. They do not waste energy on unnecessary battles. They do not allow distractions to pull them away from their purpose. They do not engage in pointless arguments, dwell on offense, or allow temporary emotions to shape their long-term future. They understand that self-control is not about weakness but about wisdom. It is about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait, when to push forward and when to rest. It is about making decisions based on vision, not feelings. Those who develop self-control create stability in their lives. They do not live in cycles of regret, apologizing for words spoken in anger or trying to fix mistakes made in haste. Instead, they live with intentionality, making decisions that align with their goals and values. They do not allow external forces to dictate their internal peace. They have trained their mind to respond to life, not react to it. And because of this, they walk with confidence, wisdom, and the ability to shape their own destiny. The greatest freedom a person can experience is the ability to govern their own mind. Most people believe that freedom is the absence of rules or restrictions, but true freedom is the ability to remain in control of oneself, no matter the situation. The undisciplined mind is a prisoner to external circumstances, emotional impulses, and societal influences. It is easily swayed by opinions, provoked by criticism, and discouraged by setbacks. But a trained mind is free. It does not react to every situation with fear, anger, or frustration. It does not allow other people's actions to dictate its inner state. It does not give away control to temporary emotions. Instead, it remains steady, making decisions based on wisdom rather than impulse. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is not the absence of challenges, but the ability to navigate challenges with a controlled mind. Everyone faces difficulties. Everyone experiences moments of disappointment, betrayal, frustration, and uncertainty. But the person who has mastered their mind does not allow these experiences to break them. They do not react in a way that makes the situation worse. They do not allow external chaos to create internal chaos. They understand that while they may not always control what happens to them, they always have the power to control how they respond. And that response determines everything. Many people live their lives on an emotional roller coaster, feeling great when things are going well, but completely falling apart when things go wrong. This instability makes them unreliable, inconsistent, and easily manipulated. But those who have trained their minds do not live this way. They remain steady in every season. They do not allow their emotions to dictate their decisions. They do not waste time reacting to negativity. They do not let fear stop them from moving forward. Their mindset is rooted in discipline, clarity, and purpose, which allows them to navigate life with confidence. A person who cannot control their mind will always be controlled by something else, whether it is fear, anger, doubt, or the opinions of others. This lack of self-governance leads to regret, because decisions made in reaction rather than response often have lasting consequences. Many people look back on their lives and wish they had been more patient, more thoughtful, more intentional. They wish they had taken a moment to think before speaking, to pause before acting, to respond with wisdom rather than react with emotion. But those who have trained their minds live with fewer regrets. They make decisions that align with their purpose rather than being pulled in every direction by fleeting feelings. The ability to train the mind is one of the greatest investments a person can make in their own future. It affects relationships, success, mental well-being, and the ability to overcome challenges. A disciplined mind creates peace because it is not easily shaken by external events. It creates stability because it does not change based on emotions. It creates progress because it allows a person to remain focused on their goals without being distracted by every small setback. The person who has learned to govern their own mind is not only strong, but also free. They are not a slave to circumstances. They are not controlled by emotions. They are not limited by fear. Instead, they walk in wisdom, confidence, and purpose, shaping their own destiny rather than being shaped by the world around them. In life, the difference between success and failure, peace and regret, wisdom and destruction often comes down to one simple principle: your ability to train your mind to respond rather than react. Every day you will face situations that challenge your emotions, test your patience, and provoke your impulses. But the person who has mastered their mind does not live as a slave to circumstances. They do not allow emotions to dictate their actions. They do not give away control to fear, anger, or frustration. Instead, they pause, they reflect, they think, and they respond with wisdom. This is the foundation of self-mastery. It is the secret of the strong, the wise, and the successful. The ability to rule over your own mind is the key to ruling over your own destiny. It is the difference between living a life of regret and living a life of purpose. It is the skill that will determine the quality of your relationships, the stability of your emotions, and the fulfillment of your potential. Because when you control your mind, you control your future. So, I leave you with this challenge. Train yourself. Teach your mind to pause before reacting. Strengthen your ability to remain calm in the face of provocation. Develop the discipline to make decisions based on wisdom, not impulse. And most importantly, refuse to be a prisoner to emotions that do not serve your purpose. If you master this, you will master life itself. Because true power is not found in controlling others. It is found in controlling yourself.